Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Anne-Marie McLean, your Research, Engagement, and Learning Librarian here with you tonight. Can everyone hear me? Would anyone mind giving me a thumbs up in the chat, or a yes, or a hooray? Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. If at any point in this session something happens like my internet goes out, please do stick around for at least about 5 minutes. I might just have to pop back off and on. But if I'm gone for more than 5 minutes, feel free to take this link that I'm throwing in the chat and visit that. There's a recording of orientation on that page. I don't think that will happen, but I want you to be prepared if it does, because I have Spectrum and Spectrum is special. So with that being said, thank you for joining us tonight. This is a great place to jumpstart your research. Knowing how to use library resources can really save you a ton of time, especially if you're using them effectively. So I want to make sure that you're doing that. I work particularly with students going through the dissertation process, so I try to understand all of your needs, from survey instruments to sort of finding resources about doing research. And I love working with you guys. You challenge me and make me think of things that I hadn't before. So I am happy to do the work that I do. You are free to throw questions in the chat as I move along. I'll also save time at the end for questions, so I'll try to incorporate them as I see them, but if not, know that you'll definitely have time to ask me at the end of the session. We do have about an hour and a half. I'll probably go for about a little over an hour, so bear with me. It's a lot of stuff, but it will be recorded, so you can always go back and look at it again. All right, let me go ahead and take us out of here and to our blank Google page. This is very fun. I don't know if anyone has done it tonight, but it's a small snake game. But we're starting on Google because you guys are primarily online students. You during your PhD, you're also working probably, and you're, as I can see from the chat, coming from all over the country, right? So you are going to want to know how to access all of our library resources online. You, of course, are welcome to come into the building and visit us, but I would encourage you not do that if you don't have to with gas prices, right? So a couple of different ways to get to the library. My favorite way is to go to ucumberlands.edu and just add a /library. So you can do that. As you can see, I use that one a lot. You can also go to the university homepage if you can't remember that, and then check out academics at the top right and library below that. Hooray. And if you can't remember any of those, you can always just Google University of the Cumberlands Library, and here we are, same page. So a couple of different ways. I will go ahead and throw that short URL here in the chat. And there you are. This is a good page, but it isn't the one I would bookmark personally. The one that I would bookmark is actually what happens when you click on Research Guide / Library Resources, that blue button above the search bar. So clicking here, it's going to take you to a page that looks a little less pretty, but is a lot more functional. So this is the Welcome to the Library homepage. I'm going to copy that URL and throw it in the chat for you as well. This is a good home base. It links out to most all resources that you're going to need through the library in one place. So let's take a little tour around the page. At the top in the center, you will see our Find Resources box. This has different destinations for searching and locating resources, as well as guides to help you in your research for every particular subject. Over here on the left, we have related links, so that gets you to information about anything from interlibrary loan to the makerspace. Jump over to the right, and we have our Stay Connected box. I am actually the one who updates the Facebook and Instagram accounts for the library. It's actually under the Rollins Family Learning Center, which I am putting in the chat right now, because that also includes Learning Commons, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But do give us a like or follow anytime we get a new database or a new research tool or an AI update. I'm going to be posting it to there and also sharing other events, webinars, things that might be helpful for you. For example, there's one coming up on using APA Psych Info and integrating AI. So really cool stuff like that is going to help you out. So that's our Stay Connected box and my shameless plug. And below there we have our library hours. These aren't particularly helpful for you guys. This is when the library building is open. What will be helpful is that anytime we are closed for inclement weather or a holiday, it will be reflected on here. And then you can expect that if we're closed, librarians might or probably won't be answering questions that day, or services might be interrupted, like ILO requests, etc. So that is how you can tell sort of when we're in or out. Generally, reference librarians are going to be working Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then 8 a.m. to noon on Friday. This is absolutely incorrect. Don't do as I say, not as I do. So that needs to be corrected, but that should be, that's the building hours. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. Building hours 8 to 11, librarians are 8 to 12 p.m. There we are. Okay. I hope that didn't confuse you more than it helped you. But we are going to hop into some of these resources on this page. So I just mentioned the Learning Commons. If you don't know about them, you should. The Learning Commons, I'm going to actually pull up their website right now. If you just type in the Learning Commons, University of the Cumberlands, we find our good friends here. They're actually in the bottom of our building. And they do a bunch of great stuff. You can go to their FAQs and see what exactly they offer in terms of services. So like, why would I come to the center? What can a writing fellow help me with? Will you fix my paper? You'll notice that there is a graduate writing center. So clicking here leads directly to a form that says connect with us. And that's going to connect you with one of the staff or tutors at that graduate writing center to help you go through things like Chapter 3, etc. So you see it just opens up a fun little form here. If you want to contact them, which is the fastest way to get in touch, we'll be emailing or calling. They are usually open business hours Monday through Friday as well. And do note that they have a number for graduate students right there. So the reason I mentioned the Learning Commons is because they are going to be the ones that you're going to consult for citation help, which is one of our links over here. What the library can do for you in terms of citations and bibliographies is give you resources that document the different style guides and link out to, for example, citation management tools that are connected to that particular style. So as you can see, we have MLA, Chicago, ALA, etc. So we can give you links to those resources. What I can't do as a librarian is sit down with you and go through your citations or answer a question about how something should be cited. That's going to be our good friends at the Learning Commons. So as you can see, if you land on this citation plate, it's going to give you that information right here at the top. So we can give you the tools to do the job, and they can sit down with you and help you do the job, if that helps you remember. If you do send a question to us, all we'll do is sort of route you in the right direction. So don't worry about sending your question somewhere wrong. All right, so that is our citation page over there, and our good friends at the Learning Commons. Oh, I meant to bookmark, or sorry, copy that URL for you guys. Here we are. This is the Learning Commons. All right, so we're back here to our homepage. I want to point out two other things on this side. So first and foremost, this library orientation sessions actually takes you to the orientation recording for undergraduates and master's students. It still will be helpful. It's going to answer a lot of the basic questions about doing research, but it's not specifically geared towards dissertation students. So you're going to miss some of the information that I would provide that otherwise our other librarian, Carrie Bird, wouldn't. So if you want to find your recording for your orientation session, that's going to be in a different place, which I will highlight in a moment. So we're going to come back to that, but know that this isn't the one for you guys. As well, there is a link to library tutorials. A lot of things I talk about today are documented in some short videos. We try to make them, 2 to 5 minutes, so you're not stuck watching something forever. So do know that these exist for you. There's also search instructions, etc. And that's one of our helpful related links on the left. All right, let's hop back over to our Find Resources box. And you'll notice that we first land on UC Search. You probably don't know what that is. It's not something that's common across every library. It happens to be just the name for our library catalog. If you are as old as me, at least, you probably remember that library catalogs weren't always online, and there were physical cards and catalogs. It was fantastic. But now, the catalog, which is basically a record of everything that library has access to, is now all online, and we call it UC Search. So they're one and the same, library catalog, UC Search. Let me show you what that looks like once we click into UC Search. You'll notice a search bar here, some menu options. This is actually the same search bar that we find here on that initial library landing page. So that would get you to the same place that searching here would. It's just kind of a mini version built in. So we're in UC Search. This is the library catalog. Right now what you're seeing is called a simple search. That means you have one search box, and you can type anything you'd like to see if UC owns or has access to the item. So for example, if I know I'm looking for books by a particular author, for example, I'd like books by Wendell Berry, I can type in that author name, click enter, and we get about 3,500 results. It's pulling things that are not only written by Wendell Berry, but also have Wendell Berry in the title. This is an interesting example. So sometimes when you're looking for books by someone, you want to eliminate the books that are about them. And the way you can do that is by one of our helpful little limiters over here on the left side. I'm going to scroll down to author/creator. That means it's going to limit our search to only things that have been created by the name that I put in there rather than created about Wendell Berry. So there's actually just 16 of those. If I click apply filters, lo and behold, we get 16 results instead, and they're all written here by Wendell Berry. You'll notice that there are different icons for different items. A lot of these are books, so we'll show a little book icon or even the book cover if we have access to that. Let's search for, instead of an author, a title. Both searching for author or title are what we call known item searches. That means you know the item, or at least you know some information about the item that you're looking for. So let's take a look and check out the origins of species. So that's the title of a work. And as you can see, once again, we have our list of results. We have little icons that tell us what type of thing that is. So we've got some articles here. We've got a book, so a good mix. This is a good time to note that we can limit the not only sort of who created our work, but also the type of work by this handy dandy little menu across the top. This is new and I really love it. I think it's much more user-friendly than going down here and doing this. So let's say I'm only looking for articles. I will click here, and here are my results. We can also, instead of looking for information we know about an item, Oh, excuse me. That was exciting. If we're not looking for an item that we know, we're just looking for resources about a particular topic, we can search that way in here too. So let's pretend our topic is aviation engine. Here we are. So you'll notice that we get hits for both aviation and engineering. We've got a bunch of articles. Some other limiters or filters that you can use on the simple search are, like I said, over here on the left. Ones that are particularly helpful for dissertation students are available online. You don't want to get a record that we actually don't have access to the full text of. That's just frustrating. So we can limit our results to that. Peer-reviewed journals. Most of your resources are going to be peer-reviewed journals. So you might end up limiting there. And then year published. So for your level of research, it's likely that you're going to have to stay within the last 5 years for items published. So I might limit to 2019 or 20, depending on the math, to 2025 and refine my search there. There is one exception to that rule, and that will be for what we call seminal works, also known as like foundational works. So something that sort of is standard to the field, perhaps Sigmund Freud's interpretation of dreams. So something big like that. In theology, it might be something that Karl Barth wrote, right? So those obviously are going to be a little bit older than 5 years if they're foundational and were published many years ago. So that would be an exception. The actual date range, consult your dissertation chair, program director about, because I think it's different for every discipline and program. All right, so that is how we just, let's see, did those go through? I'm just limited by that. Let's also apply these two. Here we go. You'll notice that the filters you're using appear here on the upper left-hand side. So you can see we're filtering by year, online, and peer-reviewed. If I want to get rid of any of those, I can just exit out, or I can reset all the filters and get rid of everything. Filters make our results go down, as you've seen, using both the top and bottom. Now, believe it or not, the University of the Cumberland's Library has many things, but not everything that you might need for your research. For example, I'm looking for this thing called the LOL Cat Bible. I'm dead serious, this does exist. So I've looked for the title, and we're getting no records in our catalog. Very sad. However, that's not the end, especially for researchers. So you guys have access to a service called Interlibrary Loan, which is linked over here on our library welcome homepage, over here on the left side. Interlibrary Loan is a service that allows other libraries and institutions to lend Cumberland's books to lend to our students, or articles, or book chapters, and vice versa. We might lend stuff to other institutions. This service is free to you, with the exception of return postage for a physical book, if you're getting a physical item. So over here, I looked for my LOL Cat Bible, and it's not there. So I decide, well, I'm going to have to place an interlibrary loan request for it. I know it's a book, so I'm going to open up this lovely form. You're going to put some of your personal information up here. Make sure you use your UC email address. And then once you scroll to the bottom, you will find the metadata that is required. That's the little bits of information that tell us what you're looking for exactly. There's a couple of different places you can get this information. So for example, maybe I had found this LOL Cat Bible in a Google search. Here it is. I've been looking on Amazon, and that's where I saw it. I told you this was real. This is going to give us the title. It's giving us the author. If we scroll down here to product details, it's giving us things like the ISBN. That's a number that's specifically assigned to a particular book, so you always know it's the right one. So I would take all that information, and I would copy it all into here. The more information you can provide, the faster your request is going to get processed. This is especially important for article requests and book chapter requests that also require you to give things like page numbers, volume and issue numbers. So always make sure those match with the date, etc. I'm going to show you how to sort of look at those citations in a moment and get that information, but that would be an instance in which you would want to include as much as possible to get the fastest delivery. Let's see. We have a question in the chat that says, would the library reach out to you directly if I need something from UC's library? So if you need something, if you need a physical book from UC's library, you are going to be able to submit an Ask a Librarian request, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. And we can get in touch and they'll either ship the item to you or they'll copy a chapter you might need out of it, etc. So that's actually a great time to talk about the Ask the Librarian form. So the interlibrary loan form is for items that UC does not have in its catalog. We had searched and we got no records. I don't know where that went. So we filled out a form here to get that item. Typically, articles, book chapters, and essays are going to come the fastest because they're delivered electronically, whereas books come in snail mail. So usually 2 to 5 business days for articles and book chapters and essays, 2 to 3 weeks for books. So keep that in mind if you're encroaching on a deadline. All right, so we've been playing around in the catalog. We've had a good time. We found things that we had and didn't have. Let's go back to our home page. You might at some point in your searching have a question and need to contact one of us. There are a couple of different ways to do that. So you will notice on the right-hand side here, and if you are on this library page here, it's also going to be in the catalog once you start searching. So that library chat is something you can use. Librarians are generally monitoring this during business hours, Monday through Friday. It's actually going to start as a bot. You can tell it you need help, and it gives you a couple of options for frequently asked questions. If they don't answer your question, you can say, I have a different question. You can submit and say, I want to talk to a person. That's going to connect you with whoever is online, and they're going to be able to talk to you live and figure out what they can do to solve your problem. This is especially helpful for quick things like, hey, I'm trying to access this resource, but the link says it's broken, or I'm getting an error, or something like that. We can jump on and figure that out. In addition to the chat, there's also a form called Ask a Librarian over here on the left. So this form is going to send a notification to all of our librarians on staff. Here they are listed on the left-hand side. We get that notification, confer about who would be the best person to answer the question, and then write back to you with an answer. This is a place where you could do a more detailed question like, hi, here's my topic. I'm trying to find a scholarly article on this. I can't locate that. Or do I have permission to use this survey? Things like that. We can put all in our little topic details. If none of these apply, except for email address, that always applies. You don't have to choose one of these if it doesn't apply. But this will submit, like I said, send us a notification and we will get back to you typically within 24 hours, but keep in mind that holidays and weekends happen, so it may be delayed a little bit more if you happen to fall on one of those. I always encourage people to try to ask your library questions earlier in the week rather than later so you don't get caught in that weird weekend gap. All right, so that is how we can basically email all the librarians or chat with them live. Like I said, chatting is great, business hours Monday through Friday, and this will go to us any time of the day and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. Excellent. All right, thank you, chatbot. You can go back. Okie dokie. Oh, excuse me. All right, so we looked at UC Search, the library catalog that shows us everything that the library owns or has access to. We looked at where to get items that UC does not have access to over here through interlibrary loan. And excuse me, we looked at some places you can find library tutorials and where not to go for orientation sessions. I'm going to hop over to research guides. So research guides are essentially little collections of web pages created by librarians to link directly to resources about a particular subject. So say I am taking a class that's on counseling. This is my first counseling class. I don't really know how to approach research in this subject. I don't even know what journals are popular or what the subject authorities are. I could click on this counseling research guide, and it's going to give me suggestions and direct links to resources that are going to be helpful for this particular subject. So for example, it's giving us our top resources here, which are databases. These databases are also, in fact, listed on this tab, Databases A to Z. These are just the ones that directly apply to counseling, whereas this is a full list. You'll see other tabs that give you books, ebooks, multimedia, web pages, government documents. So every guide is going to look a little bit different, but all are helpful. There are a couple of guides that are going to be particularly good for you guys to keep in mind. The first I'll mention quickly is the leadership guide. Nope, sorry. I get these two mixed up all the time. Research guides is what we're looking for, and leadership studies. So most of you have a leadership component in your research work. So this is a collection of, like I said, databases that are recommended, a link to the Leadership Quarterly, which is a journal we subscribe to particularly for you all. And then, like I said, references to books and ebooks, websites, tutorials, etc., even statistics and survey instruments. So sort of keep that LibGuide in mind for leadership studies. The one that I want you to particularly bookmark is called Dissertation. This one is made just for you guys by yours truly. I'm gonna, oops, sorry, that's not what I wanted to copy. I want you. Here is another link that you should add to your collection. This guide is broken up into ways that I hope you will find helpful. On the first page are links back to some of the resources you might need in research, like ILL or databases, as well as some frequently asked questions. We know a lot of people land here looking for surveys, so you can click here directly to get to those. A lot of folks end up asking us, where can I find a dissertation written by a UC student, a quantitative or a quantitative, or one in counseling or one in education? The answer is we don't have an official digital or physical repository or collection for UC dissertations. I can't go and look up in a table of contents and find one and give you the PDF. I can't go search in some folders that we have back in the archives and find them. They're not there. Your professor or chair would be the one who would have to go and hunt those down, or department head. You will find a few UC dissertations in one of our databases, and that is ProQuest Dissertations and Theses. That's linked here, but you can also find it in your list of databases here. Let's see, there it is, ProQuest Dissertations and Theses. I'm just going to show you what that looks like really quick. Here we are. So this is a collection of dissertations and theses from around the globe, as it says. Like I said, you might find some dissertations from UC students in here, but not all of them. I can't type and talk at the same time. Oh, the Cumberlands. So I'm going to search by that and see. We do get some matches. Looks like 20 right now. So the way that these got in here is that the student decided, hey, I want to submit my dissertation or thesis to this database. So they've gone to the database, looked up how to do that, submitted it, and that's how it appears here. Students aren't required to do that, so that's why you're not going to find all of them in here. But you might find some that are helpful. As you can see, quite a few subjects and topics here. Let's see. I'm getting another question in the chat that says, can you tell us about the other databases available? Would they have any dissertations? So the other databases, if you mean by this list, the only one that would collect dissertations is going to be the ProQuest dissertations and theses that we're talking about right now here. The rest of these databases either collect peer-reviewed articles, scholarly journals, conference proceedings, book chapters, but the only one that specifically collects dissertations is the one that we're looking at right now here. Yeah, of course. And remember, that's linked on our dissertation research guide as well on that landing page here. We're going to come back to this in just a moment, but know that that is linked there, and that is where you would look for dissertations if you're not consulting your department head. All right, so you'll also find a contact librarian link here that goes directly to me, so it sort of filters you guys to my queue, so feel free to use that, and there's my contact information right there. This is a much anticipated link for your library orientation for dissertation students. I put that in the chat earlier as a backup in case our internet goes out, knock on wood, but I'm going to put it right here again in the chat. This will be updated every semester because there's always something new or changing, so I'm going to put a recording from this week up probably by the beginning of next week, and then I'll always have upcoming dates for new sessions. So that is where that lives. Like I said, this is different from that link. That's for the undergrad, master's students. Yours is okay, exciting. There are a couple of other research guides that are linked on this one that are helpful for you guys as dissertation students. So most of you are probably going to be quantitative, qualitative, or applied research. These were put together by a librarian who is also a professor in the dissertation department, so she knows what she's talking about. Let me show you what one of those looks like. Let's select our quantitative research guide. So a couple of specialized tabs. We have a databases and search terms tab. So it's going to give you some key terms for quantitative studies that you can search in any of these databases right here. The same thing for our qualitative research. We have keywords and databases you can search in there. So say you're looking for a similar article on administration and education that used grounded theory. We could hop into one of these. I would probably choose Eric for education and search for grounded theory. I think a lot applied research is not as common, but here is the same matching thing for that. And as we move through the qualitative and quantitative guides, you'll find recommended journals. Most of these are recommended by your very own professors, so they are places to go. A lot of resources for research design. So take a look through these if you need a definition of something, a ton of encyclopedias and dictionaries. Any handbook is going to be great. Let's just take a look at one example. It takes us back to our library catalog. This looks familiar. It's giving us the record of the book. Just to point out a couple of things about what these records look like. Essentially, we've clicked on the title here, and it gives us, first and foremost, the ability to view it online. So you'll find a box down here that says View Online, Full Text Availability, and then it'll say something fun and exciting here. In this case, this book lives in Sage Research Methods Core, which is a database with resources that tell you how to do research. Let me show you. We'll click in here just to get to the book and also show you what the Sage database looks like. Once again, this is one of our databases that we would find in our long list here. And we've topped over. We're now in the Sage Research Methods database. We can confirm up here. This is the record for this book. All kinds of fun stuff. We can link to different chapters. We can search within the book. And then we can do things like get a permalink. If you don't know what a permalink is, you should. Hyperlinks for URLs, especially ones that are created by searches like this one, they don't last forever. In fact, they can sort of disappear or get broken really quickly, so they won't work anymore. Permalinks are the fix to that, I guess you could say. They are links that should be stable and remain for a long period of time. So if you're trying to send me a resource so I can see what you're looking at, or if you're trying to save the links to go back to them in your research, very important. You would want to use this permalink. You can usually see a paperclip type of icon. Even in the library catalog, it gives you an option for a permalink. So the only difference is this takes you to this page, and this takes you directly to the database page in here with the actual book itself. So lots of fun things like this handbook in the SAGE database. As I said, it is a database, a collection of materials that has its primary purpose is to help you learn how to do research. So you're not going to come in here and look up something like, the effects of COVID on education in 2019 for fourth graders. You're going to come in here to look up things like, how do I do a correlation design? So you can browse by subject and discipline, or you can do a quick search in here. I'm just going to, I'm not sure if that will actually match anything, but we're going to find out. Here we are. So we do have some matches for correlation, as you can see scrolling down here. If you wanted to learn more about one, we could click right into that record. You'll notice that this is a little green book. It's actually part of a series that's called Little Green Books. We mention it back on here, so back over here on our dissertation research guide. We're on this quantitative, qualitative, and applied research tab. And you'll see two links to the little green and the little blue books. Blue is for qualitative and green is for quantitative. And there are just dozens and dozens of these little books that provide explanations of commentary and theoretical and practical applications. So here we are. We've got Pearson. We've got all kinds of stuff that I'm not familiar with, but I can help you guys find. So that's little blue and green books. Like I said, you can get directly to the whole collections by clicking these, or you can search and probably one of your results is going to be one of these. This is also a link directly back to that same database, the SAGE Research Methods Core. So that is something we've subscribed to specifically for you guys. So please take advantage of this database. It also gives you something called the project planner, which I really like. It moves you through the research process from everything to doing a literature review. So we might learn about what is gray literature? How do I keep a bibliography? And then as we move down, we're now in data collection. So can I find secondary data sources? That's going to be big for some of you guys. And you'll get videos, you'll get text, all kinds of resources. So keep this in mind. That's the project planner in the SAGE Research Methods database. And that was found here, but you could also find it in our databases. All right. I've got to do tab cleanup. There we go. Okay, so we're back on our dissertation research guide. We're moving over to the next item, which is survey instruments. All right, this is called survey instruments, but it includes a lot of things, including measurements, questionnaires, inventories, other types of tools that you're going to use to collect data. Particularly if you're doing a quantitative study, you're going to be looking for some type of instrument to measure data. So everything I'm going to talk about right now is in this video, so you can always come back to it and get a refresh. What you're seeing on this page are a couple of other things. We have some instructions and tutorials. So these are two PDFs that walk you through processes. And this is a form that forwards you directly to me for help with surveys and measurements and instruments and all those other fun things. On the far right, a reminder that you cannot get surveys through ILL. The only things you can't get through interlibrary loan are textbooks and surveys, and those are for copyright reasons. So that's not something, if we don't have it, that's not something you could say, well, I'll just put an ILL and get it from another library. If we don't have it, they don't have it. Only the author or the publisher has it. So don't go looking for ILL as an easy way to get a survey you can't find a copy of. Do, however, go looking for surveys in some of these databases. So we had already talked about ProQuest dissertations and theses. We had looked at University of the Cumberlands. Oh, there we go. Here we are. Let's try one of these. So I click on the title. I'm in here in our detailed record that gives us more information about the item, in this case, the item itself. I want to take a look at the table of contents. So in theory, our chapter 3 includes a methodology section. It's probably going to talk about whatever test or collection procedure that was used. So in this case, if I'm looking for an instrument, I say, well, this dissertation is actually very similar to the one I'm doing. I have no expertise on this topic, but we're going to pretend this is very similar to what I'm researching. So I'm going to say, I wonder if the tool that they used would work for me. I'm going to go and look at that section, page 74, I think it said. Let's see if we can get there quickly. Yep. So here is our methodology section. We had a research paradigm. It's a correlational study. And so on and so on. We've got some survey methods here. So if you see a survey that you said, oh, okay, I think I want to use that particular survey, we're going to pretend that like this is the name of the survey tool they use. I can then look for that survey and see if it might work for me. So this isn't a place to find the copies of the surveys itself, unless they're included in the appendix or something like that. Let's see, I don't think that we're going to find one in here though. Actually, no, looky here. So sometimes you can find, if it's not a full example, it's sort of an excerpt of some of the questions they used. So like I said, this is a good place to find a tool that might work for you, find a little sample of it, and then go searching for it somewhere else, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So that's why you would use this database when you're looking for a measurement, instrument, questionnaire, survey, etc. And I put a little note about that in here if you forget that's what you're supposed to be doing in there. Apart from reading and learning, right? The one right above here is called Mental Measurements, Yearbook, and Tests in Print. So this is a guide, sort of like a consumer guide to commercial tests. Tested instruments that are commercial usually just mean that you have to pay for them. So it's not often that we get students who want to use a commercial test, but some people do. So this is a place you can go and look for reviews on testing instruments. Like I said, might not be the best place because it might be something you have to pay for. Let's see if I can get an example here. We're going to So we're seeing reviews of the scales and tests. We're not seeing actual copies of the test. It's a good place to learn about something, but you're not getting the actual thing itself, right? And if you do want the thing, you're probably going to have to pay for it. Typically, there is look, price data generally available for free. So that might be actually a great exception to the rule. Typically, you're going to see a fee field and it's going to say yes. But with this database in particular, this one, a lot of stuff you're going to have to pay for. So that's why we put this one at the top, APA Psych Test. This is a collection of typically private test instruments that researchers have submitted to this database. that have been validated, and the reliability has been shown, etc. So this is where most folks go, probably with the exception of IT, would be the only one who don't find all of their success in here. But I'm going to go ahead and click on in. And here we land on APA site test. You know what database you're searching in this platform because it tells you here. You'll notice it looks a lot different than the other two we just looked at. This database is an EBSCO database. You guys might have seen this before. EBSCO actually runs a lot of different databases, as you can see here. And the interface for all of them looks the same, but the collection of material that you're looking at is different, depending on what you check, right? So keep that in mind when you send me a note and says, well, I found it in EBSCO. That means you found it in any one of all of these databases. So if you can narrow it down, remember what you're looking in. For example, oh, I found it in education source. EBSCO is sort of just it's the facelift. It's what makes it look pretty on the outside, if you will. So here we are on APA site tests. This is a collection of typically testing instruments that you can use and find information about in the same place. Let's do a quick search for, well, let's try that same productivity again. Why not? We're going to do a quick search. And here we have some records, 233 of them. Lost days of labor, productivity, scale, model, survey, questionnaire. Like I said, a lot of different ways to describe the same thing, these instruments we're looking for. Let's go ahead and click into one that says Access Now PDF. This is the best case scenario. You can limit to all of these by clicking full text, although you might want to look at other ones that don't, so I won't do that quite yet. But this means that we have, if not the full instrument, at least a copy or a bit of it. So I'm going to select this top record. This is called the detailed record, so it's click on the title to get more details. You'll see we do have an Access Now PDF button. I want to open that in a new tab, but it's not going to let me, so we're just going to click on it here. And here we are, a few more details. It often gives a more full explanation of permissions, so do take a look at that. Any of these tests, any of those results that we saw, you have to have permission to use it. And I'm going to show you where to locate that back on the page we were on just before, but this gives you like the full and exact wording of how you should credit it, etc. And then if we scroll down, here is our scale. So you'll notice what you see is what you get. This is all we're provided. If you need more information about test administration or you need some additional or supplemental documents, I can't find that for you. What you're going to have to do is actually contact the author or the publisher of the test. They're the only people that would have that information. And there is a way to do that. In these different entries, we will find a correspondence field. And that gives us an email address, usually for one or more of the authors of this test. Scrolling down here, I talked about permissions. So like I said, you have to have permission to use whatever instrument you choose. So if it says may use for research/teaching, that's great. That means you have permission. We don't have to do any more fights. IRB is going to be happy. If this says contact corresponding author, that means you're going to have to write the author an email and say, hi, can I get permission to use this instrument? If it says contact corresponding publisher, you're going to have to find the publisher and contact them to get permission to use the instrument. If you need, like I said, more than what is provided in this PDF, you're going to have to contact them. Good news, a lot of people are very responsive and you will hear from them. Bad news, some people have retired or passed on, so sometimes you hit a dead end. So it depends on the look of the draw and sort of what matches what you're looking for. You'll see that some of them don't say Access Now PDF, some of them say Access Options. And what that means is that we usually don't have the actual thing. You can see there's no PDF button here. So we're going to have to find another way to get our hands on this particular restaurant competitive productivity model. So I'm going to scroll down. We're going to check some stuff out. Let's see. Do we have some correspondence? Here we are, email. Sometimes it says email, sometimes it says correspondence. I haven't figured out why that is, but that's also you can look for correspondence or email. So likely we're going to have to email this author and say, hi, can I have a copy of your testing instrument? And look, indeed, when we go to the permission section, it says we're going to need to contact that corresponding author anyway. So we're going to have to say, hi, one, can I use your test? Can I get a copy of it? And two, do I have permission to use it? Yeah, Daniela, I see in the chat, stressing over finding instruments is not uncommon. It seems to be one of the stumbling blocks in this whole process. So, and it's not intuitive looking at all these records. I did say this is where you can look at reliability and validity here. If they are available, they're going to be listed there. If you need more information about how the test was developed, you're going to want to scroll down to the source citation field. And that gives you a journal article that tells you about how this particular test was developed. So if I say, oh, I would like to sort of read this and access it, that would be a time where we would say, okay, well, let's copy the title of this article. Let's go back to our handy dandy library catalog, the UC search. And let's throw it in there and see what we get. Wow, we do have access to this article. I can click here, and it lives in a different database. It lives over in the ABI Inform Global Database. And there it is. So I can read more about how this test was developed in here. Sometimes you will find sort of copies of the instruments in here, not all the time. Even if you do find it and the permission still says contact author or publisher, you're still going to have to contact them. So good to get in the habit of looking at permissions first before you do anything. Okay, let's get away from here. So we're back on our detailed record page. Let's see, can I go back to my search here? Hooray. We have more filters on this side. I will say that a lot of tests come with a lot of different language versions. So you'll see like transformational leadership, Peruvian version, Arabic version. So if you're getting a lot of those, you can always limit your language to English here. Get rid of all those other versions, unless you're looking for a different language then. Be my guest. What else do I want to say about survey instruments? If you get to here and you get to a record and you're like, crap, I can't remember what I'm supposed to do now. That's why this document exists. I found a test, now what? So that's going to walk you through every scenario that you could possibly find and tell you, can I use this thing or not, and how do I use it or get it? Like I said, you could also just fill out this question form and ask me, and we can take a look at it together. Some records are weird, so I am not at all opposed to doing that. In fact, most of my questions that I answer are about surveys, so that's why I was brought on, and that's what I'm doing here. We have two more tabs that I won't click into. Our tutorials, that has our video tutorials tab on here. Sorry, video tutorials collection, and our citation tools, which you've seen before. So that is our dissertation research guide. Super helpful. Bookmark it, use it. I will update it constantly to meet your needs. Sorry, I have to get water. Whew. Okay. I want to hop back to our main library page. As you noticed, when we moved through our research guides, it was linking to a lot of the databases that are listed here. So that's where you can find links to all of those directly. So once you start learning which databases you like using, for example, I went to seminary, so I like using the ATLA religion database, but you might be a constant user of Business Source Premier. You'll learn which ones are prominent in your field, but don't be afraid to explore different ones. Like, for example, you'll find a lot of helpful stuff in the, there's one that's career and technical education. Yeah, it sounds like what could I find in that, but you'll find stuff for a lot of different disciplines in here. So take a look and play around in your databases. They're basically collections of peer-reviewed articles, book chapters, conference proceedings that are organized according to subject. Everything in here you should be able to find in a library catalog, but not everything in the library catalog you can find in here. Like all the books and the archival stuff in here is not going to be in our databases. So these are a smaller part of our whole collection here. All right, let's go back into our lovely library catalog, UC Search. I want to point out a very fun and exciting thing that changes the way we search probably now and forever. In a library catalog, whether you're doing a basic search or an advanced search, you have to enter different terms strategically. So like human resources and promotions. We can't do something like do promotions increase if human resources departments employee or something like that. That's just going to really confuse the system. First of all, because I can't spell right. And second of all, because it's looking for every single one of these words. And that's just going to lead to a big fat mess when you search. But there is now a way to search like that and get resources that is really exciting that I want to share with you. We will come back to doing some strategies for this type of searching, but I want to hop over to our research assistant. So you just saw that. Let me go back so I can do that a little bit slower. We're in our library catalog, UC Search, and up at the top here, we have a little research assistant button. And there it goes. I'm confused because there used to be one on the side here. Let me see if I just search if it pops up. Ah, there it is. So also this bar on the side will pop up, and that gets you to the same place. I personally like this because it just opens up the whole form, and I like to see everything. So this is called our Primo Research Assistant. And what it is a tool to help you explore research questions using natural language. So instead of doing, like I said, human resources and promotions, I could say, let's do, does professional development in universities increase employee satisfaction? All right. Thanks for letting me know data. Like I said, it's going to be recorded, so you can go back and watch anytime. Great to have you here. All right, so I just asked this question. I hope I spelled everything right. It seems to have made us answer, so we'll say yes. So what it's going to do is give you first an overview of sources. And that's 5 sources it's identified as very relevant to this particular subject. Most of these are going to be scholarly, although you see there's a dissertation in here. You might not be able to use that directly, but you could use it for citations. And they also provide related research questions. So we could sort of move along in the conversation or rephrase our question and find different results. So this overview I have found to be very helpful, very straightforward, and then it links directly down to that resource. When you click on those resources, it's going to give you the full abstract so you can see, is this a thing I actually really want to read? And then if you decide you do, you can say more details and request options, and it will take you directly to a record in the library catalog. Here we are. We see all of that helpful information about the item. We click where it is. Ta-da! Here we are on the article and the references. So let's get out of here. Oh, where did we go? Here we are. As you can see, it's going to do that for every resource. Right below your overview, you're going to see a couple of options. You can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can also do that on particular resources. Yes, I saw here. Say, sort of train it is essentially what it's doing, saying it's good, bad. You can copy. So what that's going to do is copy the whole overview, and then all the information you'll find in here, along with a link directly to the catalog. And you can ask it to try again and generate a different response. If you've ever used ChatGPT, very similar, but this one is sort of more academic focused. It's limiting what it's searching to scholarly sources. So this is not a total replacement for doing research the old-fashioned fun way, like we were seeing, not here or here, but in the traditional catalog. But it is super helpful. It has often brought resources to my attention that I wasn't able to find using traditional techniques in the catalog. So great to sort of follow that research conversation, see how other things might be phrased, and it keeps track of the questions you've asked too. See, I've been busy learning all kinds of stuff. So that's our Primo Research Assistant. Definitely use it. Send us any feedback you have. For example, if something's not linking to the catalog, we would like to know that. But do keep it in mind as a really helpful tool. Okay, so that's Research Assistant. We found that in the library catalog, which we're searching in here. Alrighty. You'll notice that there is a link to our databases over here. So a lot of these things are they sort of live in different places. Our databases are here, but you can also click here and get you to a whole, it's just the same list, it's just divided up differently. I personally like to bookmark this for myself to get directly to a list. I think it's more user-friendly than the other version, but you do you. I want to talk about some advanced searching techniques now that you will be using primarily in traditional databases like this that don't have an AI component yet. A lot of them are working on it. So let's take a look. Let's pretend that I am doing some work in counseling. Let's see, what database should I use for counseling? If I had not a clue, I could always go over here to our research guides, counseling, and choose from one of these suggested research databases. How fun. Let's try, we've looked at APA Site Test, a collection of tests. Let's look at their articles. Boop. You will be prompted to log in for most of these things, at least the first time you do. And we're back here in our sort of EBSCO platform. We see we're looking at this particular database, but if we wanted to add more, we could go in and check more that we would like to search in here. So we are doing counseling, and we want to look at this thing. I learned about this one of previous semester teaching. I thought it was so fun. This thing called adultification. It's not really fun, but it's a fun word, I thought. And it's a real word. I was like, is that real? And they're like, yes, it is. The professor and everything. So here we are, adultification. We landed on our advanced search. Back in our catalog, we had that just one search bar, but most databases will give you the advanced search. And that just means it's giving you several different lines to put in search terms. In the case of one search term, let's see what we get. 2 results. Okay, so maybe this isn't the best database for this particular search. Unless I spelled it wrong. No, I did not spell it wrong. All right, so we're getting 2 results here. In this case, I would say, well, perhaps I might add some other databases because that's not much. So I'm going to add some more. Maybe Academic Search Complete is a pretty general one. Let's add, let's see, maybe an education one or two. Let's do a health one. Let's see if that changes anything. Wow. So we searched 5 databases instead of 1, and we got 119 results. And we did that all from one screen. How fun. But we did that with just one word, and we got 119 results. You'll see it's highlighted here. And then in EBSCO, it even gives you this nice little peer-reviewed check. A lot of folks have trouble determining is something peer-reviewed. A lot of the catalogs and databases tell you now, and if they don't, we have a helpful video on our tutorials page about scholarly sources explained. So let's go back to our search. All right, so let's go. This advanced search will bring you back to where you were. If we want to limit the number of results, we got too many and we need ones that's more specific about our particular field of research. We're going to add some words. Let's try teenagers. So we're going to connect these two with and because we want the resource to discuss both adultification and teenagers. See what that does to our number of results. 14 results. So that got rid of quite a few, right? So and typically is going to give you fewer results, narrowing things down. If I added one more and here, it's likely that we would get no results at all. But let me try a word that might be similar. What's another word for teenager? There is a kind of a built-in thesaurus, if you notice. So down here, it's giving me options or adolescents or young adults. So you can either choose that and include all of those things, or you can choose one of those options. In this case, to keep it simple, I'm going to just put adolescents and see if we get anything. 13. Okay, so results keep going down. There's another way to manipulate your search with a different connector. These are also called Boolean operators. That's the official word. Or, so we can connect things with or, and that's going to do something different. Typically, or gives you more. So adding an or in between words tells the system we will take this or that. So it should give us more options, right? In theory. It's always fun to see if it works after I explain it. Aha! We went back up to 800,000 from 13, I think. So these words can really change how your search works. Like I said, you can connect them in here, or you can do it, as you can see here, it translated it into one line. If you add these in capital letters in between, things that way. If I wanted, let's see, to exclude something from my research, say for example, I'm doing research on adultification, but I really don't need any cases that are involving children. I'm just focusing on teenagers. I could put children here and then connect them with not. So that's going to get rid of any results that happen to be discussing adultification and children. This can be particularly helpful if you have a topic that generally can be interpreted many ways. For example, let's say I'm researching Julius Caesar, the historical Roman emperor, and I keep getting all of these resources about Shakespeare. And I'm like, oh, I'm just looking for like the historical information, not Shakespeare's play. I could go to my advanced search and change this to not and say Shakespeare. And that's going to get rid of some of those pesky results that are clouding up what we need to be sifting through. So those are our Boolean operators, and, or, and not. They're really fun to play around with. I think they're very fun to play around with. Don't get discouraged if you put something in and you get 0 results. It happens to me all the time. It just means that we need to shake up our vocabulary, shake up how we're connecting things, and see what does work. One way to sort of see how librarians might be talking about resources as opposed to how you're describing them in your head is by using what we call subject headings also known as subject terms, tags. What else have I seen them as? A lot of different sort of basically words that are assigned to resources by professionals and librarians that describe that thing. So in this case, this particular article is discussing all of these different subject terms. So I might not have been thinking about statistical hypothesis testing, but oh, that is something that I realized I do need resources on. I could click here and it's going to pull up anything that has that tag. So much different than Julius Caesar, but that's just an example. Like I said, it shows you how librarians are talking about things versus how you're talking about something. So if I was looking up by, well, I was choosing, I can't spell it, by justice. If we click into this article, you'll see we have the same type of thing here. Like, I didn't even know health technology assessment was a thing. So you can find a lot of ways that people are describing a topic that you might not be using yourself. In there, let's go back. We're back in our databases that we're searching. One thing I want to point out, when you do find an article you really like, let's say that this article is exactly what I'm also writing about. So it's something I want to really capitalize on. I'm going to always, if there are not footnotes, scroll to the end and find our, wait for it, any minute now, references. So if this article is about something that's really relevant to your research, chances are the things that they're citing are also going to be relevant to your research. Some references are linked, so you can copy and paste. Most all are in alphabetical order. And we can do exactly what I did before if we're looking for a resource and see UC has it by going to our UC search, our library catalog, and pasting that in there. And it looks like, yes, maybe this is the match. So capitalize on resources that you find. They've done the research for you, and it's another way to follow the scholarly conversation. So if there's a seminal work that keeps popping up, maybe that's one you should read, you know, that foundational work, like I said, Karl Barth in theology, or Einstein in science. Can you tell I'm a humanities person? So capitalize on those resources and take advantage of articles that you really like. Alrighty, it is 7:14, so I want to mention one more thing, and that is that if you ever need to verify that a article or a book or something is actually a legit publication that exists, I'm going to suggest that you bookmark this little thing called crossref.org. Nope. There we go. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. This is a place where you can search by title, author, DOI, etc., and then confirm that that thing exists. The reason you might want to do this is because if you are asking, for example, ChatGPT to give you a bibliography or some source suggestions, it's not going to do what Research Assistant did, right? So it's not going to give us that list of resources that's directly connected to the resource. It's going to give you just some information. A lot of times, ChatGPT will do very interesting things, like it will give you the name of a real author and a real journal with a volume that they've published in, but the article title is wrong, or it just doesn't exist. So this is a good place to confirm that. So say, this is the one I was looking for right here. You can click on the record and it'll take you to the publisher site for that thing. This is published by De Gruyter. So I know, okay, this is a real thing. Another place you might find items that seem real but maybe aren't are places like academia.edu and ResearchGate. So these are like, that's not what I was looking for, research. Yeah. These are like social networking sites for academic people. So they will put a profile, sort of where they're educated, maybe a CV, and they might link to an essay or an article that they wrote. Be cautious. Many times the essays or articles that they put up maybe aren't the exact match for what got published. So maybe it was an early version, or maybe like the page numbers don't match, something like that. So always, if you find something in one of those, ResearchGate or academia.edu, often Google Scholar will lead you to those places. Do verify it in something like crossref.org, or even verifying on the publisher website. So if you know who published it, search the publisher and that name and see if you can get that to come up. So for example, if I wanted to know if the Journal of the International Quranic Studies Association was a real journal, I could search that and then embroider the publisher. And look, I found a real record of that thing here. So that's social networking sites for academics. They call them academic networking sites. Be sure that you verify that the thing you're referencing is real and that you have the most up-to-date version. Whew. That was a ton of stuff. It always is, and there's just more and more every time I teach, but I hope that you have at least got a glimpse of what's possible and can go back and then watch some more videos and play with the tools and learn how they can best help you in your research. I did say I wanted to leave time for questions, so I'm going to honor that. If you need to head out for a meeting or your laptop's dying, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I thank you for joining us, and I really appreciate you taking the initiative to become a responsible consumer of information. We need people like you. So if you have a question, please throw it in the chat. Or if you want to unmute yourself, that's fine too. Otherwise, I hope you find me. Like I said, you can always ask a question and get to us here. You can find me directly on your very own dissertation research guide here. All right, let's see. We have a question in the chat. Best resources and strategies for assessing and reviewing academic articles related to survey design, particularly for instruments like Likert scales, and how can you get permissions to use them in your research? So the permissions question, that would be where we were looking at APA site tests. So you would know if you had permission or not by looking at that field. So if you found like something, we can search a Likert scale questionnaire in here. Let's just hop into this guy. That would be where we would scroll down to the permissions field. And it might say one of a couple of things. This one says may use for research or teaching. That's how you would get permission. That confirms that you can use that thing. If you need even more details, usually on the PDF, it will give you a section about permissions. Here you are. Sometimes these will say, the permissions field will say contact author. And in that case, you have to use that correspondence information to get in touch with the author. Sometimes it will say contact publisher, and you will have to find the publisher of the test and contact them. That's where you would use this little document that I mentioned, which walks you through what exactly you might see and what you do if you see that thing. As you can see, that even includes, are the test items available? So that's the permissions part. Resources or strategies for assessing and reviewing academic articles related to survey design. I think the best place for that, if I'm understanding your question correctly, would be in the SAGE Research Methods database. Now that database is going to have books and book chapters and essays about things like Likert scales. Academic articles, that's where I would actually go back to our qualitative, quantitative, and applied research. And maybe, let's see, is that one of our terms in here? No, is it on the qualitative guide? Even though it's not, what I would do is search in, if you are not looking for things like book chapters or essays. So if if I search like a scale here. So it looks like we have some matches for scale here, Likert scale. So you could look at some of these resources and see if these matches are helping with what you might need. We have a handbook of scales, stuff like that. Or you could hop into one of these databases and search with Likert scale. Let's see. I don't know what you might get in here. But basically, journal articles, academic articles are going to be published. If you're talking about academic articles published about the survey design, is that what you mean, Rebecca? Or do you mean like articles that just talk about designing surveys in general? Okay. All right. Cut me off, please. um, yeah, so like I said, that Sage Research Methods database about doing research, and then you can also search with that keyword in any of these databases for qualitative or quantitative. Excellent question. All right, any other questions for me? This recording will be posted on our dissertation research guide. So if we're on our main library page here, dissertation, and on our library orientation tab, it will be updated in this box right here. I can also copy that. Yeah, absolutely, Ashley. Thank you. There's a ton to get through, so definitely come back to it. Let me know if you have more questions, but I'm glad that I showed you something you were needing to know. Excellent. Thank you all. If there are any more questions, throw them in there. Thank you. Okay. Well, I will release you all. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday night. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks, everyone. Bye.